Seth Kaplan covers the airline industry and is managing partner at Airline Weekly, and he joins us now. Seth, I understand that the group that's trying to do this is a unionized group that's trying to get more employees at airports. But who cares? They got a point.
Absolutely, and a lot of this is driven by weather. They use some numbers from 2014, which was a really bad year, bad blizzards, compared it to actually a rather good year, 2012, a very mild winter. And so, you torture the data enough, you can get it to say what you want. But absolutely, I mean, when you're one of those people who's impacted, you don't care whose fault it is. You just want the situation to be better.
You want the situation to be better. Right now, you got social media, right? I mean, my followers know that I'll bash infrastructure issues whenever I can because it kills productivity in the United States. People sitting around airports on broken down trains and whatever. Is there anything, though, anybody can do?
Yeah, there are some things, Brian, and the good thing here is that it's everybody's interests are sort of aligned. I mean, airlines, not out of the goodness of their hearts, but because it's good business, also don't want delays and cancellations because on the cost side, they're extraordinarily costly to recover from it, and sometimes, depending on whether it's the airline's fault, you're compensating passengers and so forth. And on the revenue side, if you are a reliable airline, people will pay for that, particularly your high-value corporate travelers. When their corporations are signing those contracts with, am I going to fly American, Delta, United? Who's going to get me there reliably? So they want it too.
Agreed, but I will say this. You talked about weather, and I get it. There are times when lightning, whatever, you can't fly. But the reason we can't fly in weather has less to do with the pilots and the planes and more to do with radar. Our radar is an old, antiquated system where you can only stack the planes a few miles apart. If we spent the money for the digital next-gen radar, you could put more planes in a tighter area and fly during worse storms. But nobody wants to pay for it, Seth.
No question, Brian. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that, you would think that the benefit of flying is that you could kind of fly in a straight line. You're in a car, you have to keep to the road, but you could just sort of fly where you're going. But it's not really that way. I mean, we really have highways in the sky and airplanes in these, yes, very antiquated patterns flying all over the place out of the way because with the system that has existed for all these decades, that's what they had to do. Little by little, they're getting a little bit closer to what they call free flight, just basically doing what makes sense, but we're not even close to that. And yeah, a lot of people think that would be a rather good investment. If we're going to spend money, in terms of just economic improvement, productivity improvement, not a lot of better ways to do it than that.
Seth, we want to get your take on this next story, which has to do with carry-on bags. I mean, this is an interesting story. Delta Airlines saying it's going to preload carry-on bags for passengers on a select number of flights this summer. And this, of course, in an attempt to speed up the boarding process, is being called early valet, and Delta says it's seen reducing boarding times. Does this make sense? I mean, the airlines are charging you for a bag already. If they don't charge the bag, then those bags don't have to be preloaded and they could just be checked.
Yeah, and that is one of the negative consequences, along with, obviously consumers don't like paying for the bags. But one thing is that it sort of pushed a lot of baggage into the cabin, Melissa, and slowed down boarding times, which is costly for airlines. On a net basis, let's be clear, they're making money from it. This is why they're doing this. But yes, you have the ultra low-cost carriers like Spirit that have said, no problem, we'll charge for a carry-on bag too. Delta recognizing people probably aren't going to tolerate that yet from Delta, but trying to figure out what they can do to speed up the boarding process because, Melissa, for decades, airlines have been trying to perfect this science, and it's very frustrating trying to figure out how to board a plane more quickly.
Yep. Seth, thank you.
Thank you.